There are a lot of Southern isms, but perhaps this is one of the best going. If you live in a state where you have an official state cake or state pie, that's pretty dang Southern, y'all. It's John, it's the Y'all Show, and I recently found out that the Heart of Dixie has its official state cake. And we're going to tell you not only does Alabama have an official sweet, but there are a handful of other states that their state legislature finally did something with meaning. They often we accuse our politicians of wasting our time, but when you can come up with a state pie or a state cake, you're doing something special. So, what is Alabama's official state cake? I know you're wondering, and we're going to give it a lot of sweet love here right now. Drum roll. Did you realize that in the heart of Dixie, the official state cake, as declared in Montgomery, is the Lane cake? How about that? I don't know if it's named after Lane Kiffin or not, but there you have it. Have you had a Lane cake? If you haven't, I think you might be missing out because it looks absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and I'm sure it tastes pretty darn good. So that's the Lane cake. Now, let's do a deep dive. There's another picture here on our screen that you can see of a Lane cake coming from allrecipes.com. A Lane cake, also known as a prize cake. I think it's also called Alabama cake in some circles. It's a 4-layer white cake with a bourbon spike raisin filling. And one of the reasons it's famous is it was in Harper Lee, her classic book, To Kill a Mockingbird. It was featured in that, and I think it was brought up a couple times there by Atticus Finch or someone like that in the movie. And it's considered a labor of love, but as this website tells us, because of the good old passage of time, it doesn't quite take, maybe not as long to make a Lane cake as it once did. And so there you have it. The Lane cake is a variation of the old-fashioned 1, 2, 3, 4 cake. A cake with 1 cup of butter, 2 cups of sugar, 3 cups of flour, and 4 eggs. And so we're going to get into another recipe that I will tell you here in a little bit. But look, we got to give Emma Rylander Lane of Clayton, Alabama credit for creating the Lane cake. I guess it's named after her. Her last name was Lane. She died in the early 1900s. She invented the Lane cake in the 1890s. She won first prize with it at a county fair in Columbus, Georgia, right there on the banks of the Chattahoochee. And then she went and published her very own cookbook under the title Prize Cake, right before the turn of the 20th century. And again, mentioned in Harper Lee. In fact, Jimmy Carter wrote in his memoir, Christmas in the Plains, quote, I guess it would be more accurate to say that Mama never liked to cook and welcomed my father into the kitchen whenever he was willing. He was always the one who prepared batter cakes or waffles for breakfast, and he would even make a couple of Lane cakes for Christmas. How about that? The Lane cake. I'm going to play a video. Hopefully YouTube won't come up with crazy ads in the meantime. There you see in this recipe from Gulkey's Limited Adventures, the Alabama Lane cake being made. I'm going to skip around again. Hopefully we won't have any problems with an ad popping up, but lot of love going into a Lane cake there. We'll skip around some more and get it to, oh yeah, the eggs, the butter, as one of my relatives would say, my goodness, that sure looks delicious. And we haven't even got to the final stages there. Just how delicious that looks. And then you got frosting coming up, and woo, look at that right there. The final result of a Lane cake. There you go. Now this is again at Gulkey's Limited Adventures. I think this website or this YouTube page, she goes around and does cakes and pies for all kinds of states, and Alabama featured here. On this lady's YouTube page, she's got the recipe, And it comes straight from Emma Rylander Lane's 1898 recipe. 8 egg whites, cup of butter, sweet milk, sugar, flour, baking powder, and vanilla. Really not all that many ingredients when it comes down to it. And then she goes into how you can go through the flour and the baking powder, mixing all that together, the whipped whites, and you bake 4 layers, then the filling and more, and then frost with boiled icing, according to this recipe, going back to the original Emma Rylander Lane recipe that is proven to be amazing. Again, Alabama made it their official state cake some years ago. Can't wait to get my hands back on a piece of that near. I don't know if I'm going to try making it, but yeah, why not? I mean, what else am I doing besides doing the Y'all Show? What else are you doing? Come on, let's give it a shot. So there you have it, the Lane Cake. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the Y'all Show. I'm going to get to some of these other southern states and what they've got coming, but we got to let people know we exist. So please share, tell us when you're there bringing in cakes and sweets to the potluck supper. Tell your friends about how you found out about a Lane Cake coming from old John at the Y'all Show. So what are the other states doing about this? Well, I hate to tell you, most southern states do not have an official cake or pie. But thankfully, a couple of them have gotten into the business of declaring official cakes and pies. So here's our graphic that our crack staff here came up with. We've already told you about Alabama's Lane Cake. And you know their rival to the south, Florida, is going to have something. And perfectly fitting for the Sunshine State, key lime pie. Oh my goodness. Oh Lordy, a key lime pie in the summertime. Oh man, I'm going to have to cut this episode short to go find me a piece. Good stuff there coming from the Sunshine State. Lots of love to Maryland. Right in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay is a little island called Smith Island. And this cake, the Smith Island cake, is the official cake of Maryland. And look at all those layers and this chocolate goodness. You mean just chocolate heaven found in Maryland with the Smith Island cake. You can find the recipe out there. This one looks a little bit more complicated than our Lane Cake. But yeah, kudos to Maryland and your Smith Island cake. Whew. If you like chocolate, this one's calling your name. And then we got to go to Texas. Texas, God bless you there in Austin. You're leading the way. You've got a state pie that is the envy of all of the South. And I got to say it in the way they would say it in Texas. The pecan pie is officially recognized in Texas as its official pie. And look at that beautiful graphic. Somebody's already taken a piece of that pecan pie away. But Texas, you're doing it right there with the delicious pecan pie. You know, they grow a lot of pecans in Texas. I've gone to a lot of restaurants where they've got pecan pralines coming straight from the Lone Star State. And what a great thing that Texas did something that we all can benefit from and naming pecan pies as their state pie. We only saw 4 states listed. That means we got 12 other southern states that need to go into emergency sessions and declare either a cake or pie of their state. Maybe some of these states have an ice cream. I didn't look into ice cream as options as official ice cream flavors. I could only see Vermont having that maybe as a state type declaration. But how about that? 4 of our great states, from the Smith Island cake in Maryland to the pecan pie, the Lane Cake, and then you've got Florida and the key lime pie. Southern goodness. And one of the things we love to let everybody know here at y'all.com is how awesome and how sweet of a region we are. These other regions, they just don't compare to how great the South is. So, hey, go and celebrate. And if you're lucky, maybe you can get all 4 of those official state declared cakes and pies lined up in front of you. I mentioned potluck. Boy, I love those things because at least if you're like me, you go to some of these things and they've got 20 different desserts. 20 at one of them I went to recently, and I didn't make a single one of them. Ooh, confession. Oops. But don't let my fellow people at the potluck know I just said that. As you can reach out, you can email me. Maybe you've got some great cake suggestions for your state. Y'allshow@y'all.com is how you can email us. And don't forget, you can find us visually on YouTube and at y'all.com. And then we're also at X and Facebook. You can go to our great Facebook pages, Y'all Show, at the Y'all Show. Just so many great things. And look, like I said, we're going to get into food. And I don't mind talking about Lane Cake and the recipe there, but there are 10 million other places you can go to find cooking and recipes and all that. But when we find something special, like official state cakes and pies, you're dang right. We're going to talk about it here on the show, all about the South. And we're cooking up goodness each and every day, and we appreciate y'all doing it. Have a great rest of your day and weekend, and thank you for being a part of the sweetest show in all the land, the Y'all Show with Jon Rawl.